Hey everyone. Okay, so first off, I will say I loved the whole bit in the beginning of this chapter with Nagant, and for no other reason than I've got a soft spot for the whole self-sacrifice trope, and seeing Nagant just push her limits just to help Izuku felt really fulfilling. And I like how in some ways she feels this is her redemption, her retribution for what she had, for all the things she had done, even to the point meaning to herself how lost she was, and admits even though she can't make up for everything, this is her to her this is in some small way of repenting for everything. And yeah, aside from that, major props to Shigaraki of all people, I gotta say, for pulling the Uno reverse card. Like he just pulled on all for one in this chapter. Like ultimately, one thing I do like is that Shigaraki ultimately he's still on the villain train. Like he's not gonna be redeemed. He's saying I'm not redeeming myself. I'm just saying I want to do my own thing. I don't want you sticking around or feeding or trying to feed off my body mass, or I'm doing this shit on my own. Like again, he's still on the villain ship, but I gotta give him props for saying I'm doing things my own way. And I do respect the fact that he's saying no. I was never gonna be your new body. I was never gonna be your pawn. Again, I'm just doing things my own way. And the whole thing of Shigaraki, like, strengthening the core of his quirk to overtake All For One, it's one of those things where I would have liked maybe a little bit more build-up to that, but the actual execution is completely in line with something he do, and it does kind of actually work. And I like how it was ultimately All For One's own arrogance that even put him in this situation to begin with. Like, he thought everything would just fall perfectly into place, all the pieces would fit perfectly on the board, but ultimately his own creation, Shigaraki, turned out to be the one thing he didn't fully account for. Like as much as he always kept saying about letting him roam free, letting his rage fester, he did it with the purpose of, I guess, making him easier to conquer, but ultimately it just kind of ended up being All For One's downfall, which is again kind of ironic in that sense. Like he did it for the sake of making Shigaraki stronger, for the sake of making him stronger, but it didn't exactly work out to plan, did it, All For One? And speaking of things not going to plan, the chapter yet again promises the return of Oboro, and it's one of those things where I have to ask if this is another red herring or if Horikoshi's actually following through with it this time. Like, I have to assume it's the latter, but the bigger question is whether it's going to be immediately addressed next chapter, or if he's going to wait out for just the right time to reveal the return to us. Like, again, I have to assume it's going to be the latter in a sort of fake-out fashion, where he goes to technically assist Shigaraki, only for Shigaraki to find out, oh, it's actually Oboro in control, and Oboro turning the tables. That's kind of how I'm seeing this play out right now, and with this chapter carrying on the feeling of more and more like we are in the climax of the series, I don't expect there to be too much of a wait, but that in itself again begs the question of just how much longer we have, because the final page of the chapter does have that finality that, yeah, we are now in the final battle. Everything has been building to this moment, the hero and the villain of the story finally clashing with each other at last in one final battle. And I think the biggest test, which, yeah, if I'm going to be honest, is something that worries me going into this fight, because the consistent problem throughout this entire arc is the pacing ranges from either too fast to just okay. So while I know, regardless of what, the ending probably won't be satisfying to a lot of people, at the very least, I'm hoping I personally can walk away from this fight saying it was at least paced well. So yeah, I guess as low as my expectations might sound, what I'm saying is now that we have reached this all too important final clash, the most important thing to me at the very least is for Horikoshi to slow down more and allow time for things to breathe, to kind of breathe with this fight. Like don't pretty much rush through it. Don't kind of rush through it. Just take it one step at a time. Let the fight breathe. Let the fight have its moments, kind of thing. Just let everything play out as naturally as it can. And that's kind of where my baseline expectation is going into the chapters from here. Like, don't rush, just let things play out. Now, obviously, a lot of this is dependent on where Horikoshi's mindset is right now, on whether he's feeling burnt out or if he feels he's got the energy to pull full throttle effort into the final fight. It's kind of difficult to say because Horikoshi as of late has been giving a lot of mixed signals, to so to speak, on where he is mentally. Sometimes he says he feels burnt out, other times he's got the energy to keep pushing. He's overall a bit of a weird guy in that regard. So, but yeah, I'm hoping at the very least he can pace this out on his own terms, kind of thing. One thing I do expect at the very least to happen though is for Nana and Shigaraki to have a conversation in some form or another during the fight. Like, if you can give me that much, then I think we're good. Like, I expect he's already got something to that effect planned out. But as long as like that is my kind of expectation. Like, if you can give me that much, then I'm all good. Like, give me that, and then yeah, and it's. But even that, and which itself, I guess, also raises the question of how Horikoshi's going to even pull out the whole thing of Izuku even technically like saving Shigaraki. Like, that's been the big thing that's been kind of on my mind as well, is how exactly is Horikoshi going to pull off this whole like Izuku saving Shigaraki thing in a way that doesn't feel forced, because up to this point Shigaraki, I think regardless of what, he's going to jail. So, but in what sense is he ultimately going to save Shigaraki from himself? His goal, his idea of like destroying everything. How is Izuku going to save him from that? Like, what is going to be the thing that really does save Shigaraki from himself? That's kind of a big question I've got. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Night signing off. Later, everyone.